There are many platformers out there, and let's be real, a vast majority of the classics were on N64 and made by Rare. But in that generation of gaming, Ubisoft came out swinging. Rayman was a character originally intended for a solo 2D adventure on the Super Nintendo named Jimmy. No joke. Created by Michel Ancel. The plot would center around Jimmy entering his computer and becoming Rayman, a superhero who must save his friends in the kingdom of Here It's Cool. Yeah, Here It's Cool. This plot would carry over to the Atari Jaguar version after they canceled the SNES one, and at one point Rayman became Kevin instead of Jimmy, but eventually it would transition into the Rayman we all know and love and go on to be released on the Jaguar, PlayStation, Saturn, and Windows in 1995. This game basically put Ubisoft on the map and was a huge commercial success, especially on PS1. So a sequel was a no-brainer for the company, and it was originally set to be in 2D. We can actually play a level from the prototype when it was 2D on PlayStation, which is epic. But, like all games at the time, Super Mario 64 changed the landscape of platforming and entered the third dimension. Then the team working on Rayman 2 saw Crash Bandicoot, and Ubisoft canceled the side-scroller and shifted development from 2D into 3D, which was clearly the future. They didn't want to risk the reputation of their star though, in case 3D wasn't working out, so the team began experimenting with a new engine using Tonic Trouble, and Tonic Trouble became the prototype that would develop into Rayman 2. They experimented to see what would work and what didn't as the team refined Rayman in the background. Armed with all this knowledge, it's fun to see the references and Easter eggs between Tonic Trouble and Rayman 2, from small subtle background images to straight up characters crossing over. It's pretty awesome. Tonic Trouble was actually intended to be released much earlier, but ended up releasing the same year as Rayman in 1999. Tonic Trouble released in August, and Rayman 2 followed up in October. And boy was Rayman 2 a release. Originally released on the N64, the game was a huge commercial success. The N64 release was followed up with a PC release, a Dreamcast release, a PlayStation release, and then it would also come to PS2, DS, 3DS, and NSO. This game is probably the most re-released game I've ever seen. I'm not sure if I've encountered another game that has been released on so many consoles spanning so many years, and that I played virtually every single release. Did I mention it was also on Game Boy? The only version I've never played is the PS2 version, titled Rayman Revolution. One day I will. But I even played Rayman 2 on my PSP, getting the PS1 version off the PlayStation Store back in the day. This game was everywhere, and for good reason. It's a banger. My preference for which version I prefer lies between the N64 and the Dreamcast. While I love that the Dreamcast has extra content and better graphics and higher FPS, the N64 hits that nostalgia feel for me as it's the first one I played, and I prefer its level selection hub over the Dreamcast counterpart. Its ambiance is incredible. But regardless of what version you prefer, this game hits. So now the question is, why does it hit? I mean, there are tons of great platformers out there as I mentioned, but among them I would dare to say Rayman 2 is regarded as one of the best. There's a reason it's been re-released and remade so many times. I sat here and dissected why I love this game and what makes it special among the bin of games I had as a kid. I think I've narrowed it down to a few things. First and foremost, the gameplay. Can't have a good game without good gameplay, and Rayman does just that. Your basic functions consist of running, jumping, climbing, helicoptering, and finally, throwing your fist. In the first game, Rayman literally threw his fist, and in the prototype versions of this game, they did try just that. But evidently due to technical limitations, the team decided to change it into a magic energy ball shot you throw. This helped with camera and animation issues. They even added a lore reason for it at one point. If you haven't seen my Mysteries of Rayman 2, you might want to go watch that to find out what that is. So all the basic movements of Rayman are established. He doesn't have a ground pound or even a melee attack. But what he lacks in moves, the game makes up for with fluid animations like Rayman flipping around everywhere. As you gain speed and momentum, you can do forward flips and rolls on the ground. They look really cool and are super satisfying to land. And in addition, there's a variety in both power-ups and gameplay segments. In this game, you'll be sliding down pipes and waterfalls and anything slippery, really. You'll be riding rocket-propelled shells on the ground and air. Rayman hops on them like a horse, and they can run and jump and boost. You'll be coptering up tornadoes and at one point, straight up fly. And there's also swinging on purple lumps, which I always found super addicting and tried to make the chain as long as I could to start out. The sheer variety of this game carries the gameplay. The combat is probably the only thing worth saying anything negative about, as it can be tedious, especially in later levels when you have enemies that have a lot of health. But still, you'd be flipping around avoiding enemies, and you can get creative to take out enemies, say with a barrel in one go, or get a super shot to make it faster. With all the variety, no two levels ever felt the same. I mean, one level you even pilot a ship and shoot cannonballs at the environment. And that's another point, the level design is actually out of this world. I'm going to show you 3 different parts of 3 levels here, and you're going to see how vastly different they are in gameplay and design. You'll be running through forests, saving lumps from cages, riding plums down giant rivers of lava, and sliding down a nightmarish rocky cave trying to get away from Jano. No 2 levels in Rayman are alike. Each carries its own uniqueness. My personal top picks are the Sanctuary of Water and Ice, the Cave of Bad Dreams, and the Iron Mountains. Drop your faves in the comments. In addition to the superb and varied level design in each level, you'll notice a consistent tone and theme across the board. Everything has a moody and dark vibe, with all the characters and creatures being super cartoony, as well as being full of magic. The combination of all these elements creates an ambiance and consistent mysterious tone across the board. And top that off with the variety of gameplay, these worlds are so flippin' interesting. But it's not just the worlds, but the characters in the worlds that are filled to the brim with charm. Our main cast, of course, with Rayman, Glowbox, Lee the Fairy, and the vile Razorbeard. And that's just the main cast. Every level seems to have its own set of unique critters, from slightly more substantial ones like Sam, to even the smaller ones like these random mosquitoes in the first level. These unique characters help to populate the worlds and make them feel alive. From the very beginning, you'll be hard-pressed not to love each one of these guys. And while there are 2 versions of dialogue audio, one in English and the OG in gibberish, the gibberish is freaking hilarious and has my heart. Rayman will be dropping these Calibrew stews over and over, and it cracks me up. These 3 elements are the most essential to get that Rayman 2 feel. And honestly, a lot of these elements, though gameplay has changed back to a 2D format, the toon-looking games that spawn from Origins capture these elements very well too. And funny enough, looking at the next entry directly after Rayman 2 in Rayman 3, I can't help but feel a little bit disappointed. While the charm of the world and characters is there, the gameplay swapped from huge variety in the levels to sort of focusing in on combat a lot more, and I think the game suffers for it. Just a little bit. It also suffers from not being as fluid as Rayman 2, like for example jumping and flipping and rolling around feels really good in Rayman 2, where in Rayman 3 it feels a little stiff. Rayman's other outings have been a bit different with the Rabbids taking over. What was meant to be Rayman 4 became a party game with tons of mini-games. I did find some fun with that as well, but we never got a proper Rayman 4, even though it was teased. Which is the story of my life with a lot of games I love. A never-promised sequel. With the rise of the Rabbids and their popularity, they sort of became the focus for a long time, which is a shame because Rayman 2 was so special. And I'm not the only one who thinks so. So many who played it back then are reviving it with fan-made projects and even a full fan-made remake, even spreading some of that love to Rayman 3. Ubisoft themselves recently released Rayman's 30th Anniversary Edition for the first entry in the series. It would be cool if this sparked interest in a proper Rayman sequel, but until that day I suppose I'll just have to play Rayman 2 again on a different console for a slightly different experience, or even the fan-made version. Rayman is such an oddball of a character. He's somehow wacky and cool at the same time, cartoony, over the top, but also gives us dark and gritty world building. And I didn't even talk about the sound design. Every world has an accompanying track that fits the ambiance. These tracks also balance the mysterious dark tone with the cartoony nature of the game so well. Take a listen to a few examples. Rayman 2 just checks a lot of boxes for what makes a great game. Fun, varied gameplay, fantastic world design both in looks and sound, and charming characters that keep you engaged in the story and fill the world with mystique and lore. If you've never played it before, it's literally everywhere, including NSO. Go play it, you won't regret it. This game hits hard. Well, that's all I have for you. Be sure to throw a fist at that like and subscribe button, and until next time, have a good one.